Have you heard the story of a sculptor who was working on this masterpiece that would go on top of a building? He worked on the sculpture lovingly for multiple days, only to find out later that there was a tiny flaw in it. He was super irritated and he could not ignore the flaw, and he decided to rework on the whole sculpture. That's when the architect came and asked him, "Why do you care so much? The sculpture's going to go on top of that building. Nobody's even going to know that there was an error." And that's when the sculptor said, "I'm going to know that there is an error, and I can't let the sculpture go up there. I'm going to rework the whole thing." As a child, I had heard this story and I was super impressed, and I thought, whatever I do, I'm going to give my best and it's going to be perfect. I was working so hard to be perfect, only to realize many years later that story has really been keeping me stuck. What? How can that story keep me stuck when I'm really striving for perfection? Is mainly because of the reason that I put so much pressure on myself that whatever I do has to be so perfect and has to be absolutely flawless, that I just refuse to do the things that I really love doing for the fear of not being perfect. That's why, if that perfection that you're striving for is not helping you progress, then it's really time to rethink your whole strategy, and maybe a good idea to drop that idea of perfection. Yes, striving for perfection is good because that's what gives you a certain standard, makes you better than most of them, and helps you put your best foot forward. All that is great. But if it's not even letting you do the bare minimum of going ahead and doing the task because of the fear of perfection, then there is no point chasing that perfection. And think about it, right? Your idea of perfection may be super different for someone else. So there is no specific definition of what perfection is. Yes, there are definitely standards for quality, and you can identify if there are any specific defects that you can always improve and what you can change. But there's never a definition of what is perfect. What is perfect for you is not perfect for someone else. When this whole concept is so intangible and something that cannot be perfectly defined, perfection can never be perfectly defined. Yeah, perfection itself is not perfect because we cannot define what perfection is. This just hit me, and I'm like, what? This whole idea of perfection is just an idea that we want to strive for it and want to make things super flawless and we want to give it our best. All that is great. It helps you from, stop you from making mistakes. But if that is not helping you progress, if it's not helping you get better at what you're really doing, then what is the point even? That you just keep waiting and waiting to be perfect, but you have not really executed something that you really know you can be good at. This is what I learned. An imperfect plan that was executed is still way better than a perfect plan that was never executed because of fear of failure and thinking that it may not be perfect enough. And all this I had to learn when finally I'm doing my inner work and figuring out why things are not the way I would have loved for them to be. And this was one story that just came up, that I am so stuck on that perfection. I really want things to be absolutely perfect, that I can't half-ass anything. Yes, don't half-ass anything, and don't, simply go ahead and do whatever you feel like just for the sake of it. Give it your all, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Strive for that perfection, but if it doesn't meet that criteria, it's still okay. Just go ahead, test it out, whatever that you're trying to do, learn from your mistakes and rework. Learn, get better. Learn, get better. So what is it that I want to share? One, the idea of perfection itself is not perfect because we cannot define what that perfection is. Number two, strive for perfection only if it's helping you move forward. If it's keeping you stuck from taking your first step or learning from your mistakes or that fear of failure, then rethink the whole thing, and you may not have to do things perfectly in the beginning. You can always get better at your craft. Third thing, we've really moved ahead where we've realized that we are human beings and we were born in this life mainly to learn from our mistakes. If everything was perfect, then our soul wouldn't have chosen this human body. Okay, that's a whole different topic on a spiritual level, but we are here to make mistakes, learn from our mistakes, and get better at whatever we do. Does not mean that it gives us the right to make whatever mistakes that we want up front and be like, oh yeah, I know I'm doing a crappy job, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. No, but if you know you're really good at whatever you enjoy doing, but if the idea of perfection is stopping you, I think it's a good time to just let that go and do whatever you love to do and enjoy doing it wholeheartedly and learn from it and grow. You got this.